Text pages 24 to 27. Forces on Earth's surface. Forces on Earth's surface wear down and reshape the land, along with forces inside Earth, which you will read about later. Forces on Earth's surface help create the landforms we see around us, wearing away the Earth's surface. Weathering is a process that breaks rocks down into tiny pieces. There are two kinds of weathering: chemical weathering and mechanical weathering. In chemical weathering, rainwater or acids carried by rainwater dissolve the rocks. In mechanical weathering, moving water, ice, or sometimes wind breaks rocks into little pieces. Mechanical weathering can happen after chemical weathering has weakened the rocks. Weathering helps create soil. Tiny pieces of rock combine with decayed animals and plant material to form soil. Soil and pieces of rock may undergo erosion, a process in which water, ice, or wind remove small pieces of rock so it carries it away. Soil is required to sustain plant and animal life. And for agriculture, agriculture is another word for farming. Because of this, weathering is very important to human settlement patterns. Shaping landforms. Weathering and erosion have shaped many of Earth's landforms. These landforms include mountains and hills. Mountains are wide at the bottom and rise steeply to a narrow peak or ridge. Hills are lower than mountains and often have rounded tops. While forces within Earth create mountains, forces on Earth's surface wear them down. An area in which a certain type of landform is dominant is called a landform region, one of the 5 themes of geography. So you could have the Rocky Mountain region. The parts of mountains and hills that are left standing are the rocks that are hardest to wear away. Millions of years ago, the Appalachian Mountains in the east coast of the United States were as high as the Rocky Mountains of the western United States. Rain, snow, and wind wore the Appalachians down into much lower peaks. They almost look like hills, but they're higher in elevation. Rebuilding Earth's surface. When water, ice, and wind remove material, they deposit it further downstream or downwind to create new landforms. Deposition is the process of depositing material eroded and carried by water, ice, or wind. Deposition creates landforms such as sandy beaches. Plains, or large areas of flat or gently rolling land, are often formed by the deposition of material carried downstream by rivers. Through deposition on the floor of the sea, rivers can create new land. Looking to the side here, a plateau is a large, mostly flat area that rises above the surrounding land. At least one side of a plateau has a steep slope. At the top of this slope is usually a layer of rock that is hard to wear down. So this plateau is because of weathering, erosion, and possibly some deposition carried pieces to another spot. Or that's where they went. Valleys are stretches of lowland between mountains or hills. Rivers often form valleys where there are rocks that are easy to wear away. Canyons also. There's a river at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. This map of Egypt shows the delta of the Nile River in Egypt. A delta is a landform. Deltas are flat plains built on the seabed where a river fans out and deposits material over many years. Almost like little triangle islands. The river goes around it, and this is where the silt that's carried from the desert ends up in these areas. Almost creates little islands. Forces inside the earth. Forces deep inside the earth are constantly reshaping its surface. The theory of plate tectonics states that Earth's crust is made up of huge blocks called plates. Plates include continents or parts of continents along with parts of the ocean floor. Earth's continental plates sit on streams of molten, nearly melted rock called magma. Some scientists believe magma acts as a conveyor belt, moving the plates in different directions. Plates may move only an inch or two, a few centimeters a year. This movement slowly builds mountains. When two plates of crust push against each other, the pressure makes the crust bend to form steep mountains. Earthquakes and volcanoes. Earthquakes and volcanoes occur. Earthquakes occur when plates slide against each other. They often occur at seams in the Earth's crust called faults, often near the boundaries between plates. Earthquakes cause the ground to shake. Some earthquakes are too small for people to feel, but others can destroy buildings and cause great harm. For example, the 1906 San Francisco earthquake killed more than 3,000 people. The movement of continental plates creates great pressure inside Earth. Sometimes this pressure forces magma up through Earth's crust, forming volcanoes. Volcanoes spew magma from inside Earth. When magma erupts out of a volcano, it is called lava. Ash, rocks, and poisonous gases also explode out of volcanoes during an eruption. Volcanic eruptions can be very dangerous for people, but volcanoes also serve an important purpose. When lava cools, new land forms. Undersea volcanoes even grow into islands after thousands of years of eruptions. They can rise to the surface of the ocean. Take a good look at these continental plates. The plates of Earth's crust, the map above shows Earth's plates fit together today. It also shows the directions in which plates are moving. So the arrows show directions they are moving. As you can see on the map, earthquakes and volcanoes occur along the plate's edges. In the Pacific, this is known as the Ring of Fire. It's in Nemo, if you've ever seen Finding Nemo. Ring of Fire, and that's because the most volcanoes and earthquakes occur around that movement of the Pacific plate. Natural hazards. Volcanoes and earthquakes are examples of natural disasters. They are also called natural hazards, meaning dangers. Other natural hazards include hurricanes, tornadoes, landslides, and floods. These events threaten lives and property, but people can take steps to prepare for natural disasters so that damage will not be as severe when they strike. For example, architects can design buildings that will not collapse when the ground shakes. Local governments can set routes for people to leave affected areas during a hurricane to evacuate. Citizens can practice what to do during an earthquake and keep emergency supplies at home. Preparing for a natural hazard, damage caused by an earthquake, you can see in this picture. And then students hide under their desk for an earthquake drill. So in an area like California, along the Pacific Ocean, where they have lots of earthquakes, they might practice for drills.